and welcome to another edition of the Beyond Limits podcast. I'm your host, Eli Shalita.
And I'm your co-host, Greg Vaughn.
And today we have a very important and crucial subject we want to talk to you about, and that is on the topic of how to stay motivated. If you're like myself or my co-host, Greg, and you have a true desire and passion to want to further yourself on any level, whether that be in educationally, intellectually, physically, or even spiritually, you understand that getting motivated is one thing, but staying motivated is a whole different game. And today, our desire is to help you answer that question, how to stay motivated. So let's face it, we all have gone through periods of time where we felt unmotivated to do anything in our lives, whether it be jobs, schoolwork, weight loss, or any New Year resolution goals you have set since the beginning of this year. Statistics show that over 80% of the New Year resolution goals are abandoned within the first several weeks, particularly before the end of January. So the real question becomes, how can I stay on task and accomplish the goal or the goals I'm set out to accomplish while staying motivated? And that's the question Greg and I today are attempting to answer. So how to stay motivated? Well, I'm glad you asked that question because Greg and I have the answer for you today. And we have 3 strategies we want to give you in order to keep you motivated to accomplish the goals you have set out to accomplish.
Exactly. So the very first one is identifying the real cause. A lot of times we look at, oh, well, I have a lack of motivation, but why? What's the real issue? What's the root cause? And so many times we overlook what the real problem is. We try to push the problem, well, it's my boss, or it's my job, and we try to push the lack of motivation off on something else. But really the root cause is about me. What can I do to get myself out of this slump of motivation or a lack of motivation?
Absolutely, because so many people, Greg, what they do is they attempt to combat the symptoms as opposed to the real problem. They don't really dig deep and find out what the real cause or why they're feeling the way they're feeling. It's so easy to blame the symptom, to blame the external circumstances on why the problem is there, when the reality is we've got to dig deep and find out what the real problem is.
Right.
So let's just say, for an example, you have tasked yourself on this New Year resolution to lose weight and become healthy. And maybe the first few days went by really smooth. Everything seems to be okay. Everything went well. Maybe first couple of weeks were decent. When all of a sudden you woke up one day and you felt as though you just didn't want to do it no more. And you looked at yourself and said, man, I don't know what's gone into me. I don't know what in the world is causing me to feel like I don't want to do this diet anymore. And it's easy to say, well, I miss the bad food. That's the problem. I just want to eat bad all the time. I miss the taste of unhealthy junk food. When the reality is maybe it could be a problem of you're just tired of the monotonous, regimented workout schedule and the taste of the healthier food options that you're eating. Maybe the real deal is that you are just tired of that. Right. And not necessarily want to indulge in fast food. Because I want to be honest with you, I love working out and I love eating right. And eating healthy food does not have to be bland. It doesn't have to be disgusting. It can be tasty. It can be rewarding. But you're just going to have to find healthier alternatives, where to buy at the store, how to cook it, how to make it taste better. But the reality is, the point is, you got to identify the real problem. You've got to really dig deep and find out what is that causing you that lack of motivation. Maybe you're just tired of doing the same routine in your workouts and you just don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't mean you don't want to work out at the gym. It means maybe you just have to find an alternative to make you feel rewarded. Personally, as an example, I've been weight training over 20 some years. I love working out, but at this stage of my life, I find that doing the same old routine doesn't get me excited and motivated. And it's easy for me to lose my drive and say, I don't want to go to the gym. So what have I been doing right now is I'm identifying the same old routine is the causation of the problem. It's not working out in general, but it's the routine. So what am I doing? I reinvented myself in working out. I started taking up boxing classes, and I absolutely enjoy it. So the point is being, identify the real cause.
Which brings us to our next point. Number 2 is to combat the real cause. What are you doing to fight that lack of motivation? What are you doing to change your way of thinking about it? So Eli kind of hit on it just a little bit. He found the problem in his own personal situation. He found the real cause, and there's just a slight lack, just a lack of motivation in working out. But then he started changing the formula up a little bit and got into boxing classes and doing other things. That's a way to combat the real cause, his lack of motivation. There's one saying that a lot of people used to say, it's not very common now, but there's more than one way to skin a cat.
That's right.
It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And so we can't have that mentality of thinking, well, this is the only way that we can get healthy. This is the only road there is to bettering ourselves. No, there's multiple paths. As long as your goal remains the same, there's no telling what you can do, how you can change your life, and what different flavors, so to speak, that you can throw into your food and your lifestyle, and how you act and how you walk and how you present yourself, and the activities that you do to get to that goal.
And it doesn't have to only be predicated upon physical fitness, but it can translate really to any avenue of your life, whether that be in your job, your career, your projects that you're working on. You just have to find what is causing you that lack of motivation, and then combating the real problem and not just the symptom.
Exactly. And going back to that thought of, it doesn't just have to be your physical. It can be as a job as well. And personally for me, with the job, there's been several times where I've just had a lack of motivation. Maybe it was the leadership that was leading me that just, I didn't really feel very motivated to want to get up,
right,
to go to work. But, combating the cause for me is waking up and realizing that it's not just about myself. I've got a family I've got to take care of. I've got bills I've got to pay. I've got, a house and a car and insurance and all these other things that it's not overwhelming to me, but it's the fact that that's what I'm using to combat my lack of motivation. I go to work because I want to take care of my family. I go to work, maybe it's hard for me to get up and hard for me to go to work, and really I've got to push myself. But at the end of the day, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my friends. I'm doing this for the other people around me, to not only instill motivation in me, but they can look at me and say, man, he's always staying busy. He's always motivated. What is he doing? And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm pushing myself, bettering myself, and combating the real cause by applying my family and my friends around me, because I don't want to disappoint them. And it's, like I said, it's not focused just on me. I've got other people that depend on me, and I don't want to let them down either.
And to add to your point, Greg, I think it's beyond just me wanting to take care of responsibility. Now, this is a leadership type podcast. And for me, I realized that in addition to my family, my motivation is to better myself as an individual. So I can't just let circumstances dictate my feelings and my actions. I have got to get a hold of myself and say, sometimes you have to just suck it up, buttercup.
Right.
And get up and do something about it. Because staying down is not an option.
Right.
Feeling bad, feeling low, we all go through those feelings at times, and we all feel that way sometimes, but staying down is not an option. That's the mindset we have to adopt as leaders for us to be productive. Because when you're down, let's face it, you don't want to do much. You want to be disengaged. You don't want to be productive at that particular time. You want to nurse the feelings that you have because you're unmotivated. You're going to find ways to not want to do the goals you've set. But the reality is, for me as a leader, I can't stay down. I can't stay demotivated. I have got to push beyond the limits. I got to push beyond the boundaries that my physical and mental and psychological limitations are being placed on me. And I've got to push those away, push those barriers aside, because I have got to be a better leader. I have got a work to accomplish. I have got some things I need to do, and staying down is not an option.
Exactly. And society wants to say, oh, well, you fell this many times, or you're not motivated this many times, but it's not, we're not defined by, how many times we weren't motivated. We're not defined by how many times we've fallen, but we need to, and we should be defined by, we got back up. We're staying in the fight. We're not giving up. We're not, just pushing ourselves to the side, but we're really moving forward. And again, we're pushing those boundaries, becoming the person that we should be.
I love it. I read a quote actually by a famous author. The name doesn't come to me at the moment, but I remember him saying this. He said, success is not measured by how many times you get knocked down. It's measured by how many times you get back up. And this brings us to a very important point on how to stay motivated, and that is seeking accountability. Because honestly, let's face it, feeling unmotivated is a very natural thing that occurs in our lives from time to time, depending on the circumstance. It's perfectly normal. It's okay not to be 100% every single day. But the reason why you have accountability, people in your life that will tell you not necessarily the solution, but help you navigate through the rough terrains of the harsh environment that is brought up by yourself sometimes. You need those people in your life to help you, to tell you everything is going to be okay. It's okay. It's normal to feel that way. It's perfectly normal to feel unmotivated. And you know what's so beautiful about having people in your life that you're accountable to is the fact that they can push you to be a better person, a better leader, a more productive individual than you ever could do by yourself. It is amazing to think about the people you can surround yourself with that will push you beyond your limits. I've read this. I'm not sure if many of our listeners have read Steve Jobs' biography, but it's one of the most fascinating reads you can ever ingest as a leader. And I read this in his book that he chose to surround himself. Now, he knew a lot of people and a lot of acquaintances, but he personally chose to surround himself with 6 people. That's it. That's his inner circle. And if you were number 7, number 8 on his list, he didn't have the time of the day for you. He surrounded himself with 6 individuals that built him up, that not just validated him. See, we don't need yes people. We need accountability people in our lives, friends and colleagues that will push us beyond limits. And he didn't have yes people in his lives. He had those 6 individuals that pushed him to be the best version of himself he could ever be. And as a result, history was made. And so what could happen when you choose to surround yourself with people that will build you up as opposed to people that will contribute to your bad symptoms? See, what you need is not just any kind of people. You need individuals that will push you to go beyond the limits, that will help you be the better version of yourself. In other words, you don't need enablers that will enable you to do bad things, but you need people that are better than you on any aspect. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world, but if you can surround yourself with smarter and better people on different things in your life, then you become better. I remember reading several years ago when Arnold Schwarzenegger became the governor of California, and they asked him several questions. And one of those questions that stood in my mind was, do you think you're the right man for the job? And along those lines. And his response was this. He said, I know I'm not the smartest. He said, I know I don't have the most political savvy in California, but one thing I do know is I want to surround myself with people that are better than me in different areas. That way I can be a better leader. And you know what? I don't know what your take on him as a governor, but I can tell you, I know he was more successful because he chose to adopt that attitude. And likewise, this can happen to you and I when we choose to surround ourselves with people that will push us to be better than we ever have been. And as a leader, I have personally battled with a lot of self-debilitating insecurities that alone I would have been totally unproductive had it been just me. But I'm very thankful and very blessed to have people in my corner that when I'm feeling low, when I'm feeling demotivated, I can call. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a call. It could be a text message. It could be an email that I can communicate with them. And, you don't need a whole lecture to tell you everything is going to be okay and to get back on the saddle and keep on going. Sometimes all you need is just that one word, that everything is going to be okay. Maybe all you need is a text message from a loved one, from a leader that tells you, I appreciate what you're doing. Keep on keeping on. And maybe it's just that one word. It's maybe that one emote that they send to you that will reestablish your passions. It does not have to be something that's lengthy, a lengthy discussion, a lengthy talk, a preaching sermon that will get you back on the track. No, sometimes all it takes is just that one word, and everything else will be just fine. Speaking of that, I'm very thankful for the people that I have in my corner, my good friends. Of course, I got Greg, who's right here in front of me. Very thankful. He and I don't really talk much on the phone, but when we do talk or when we do hang out, it really helps. Very thankful for a spiritual mentor that I have in my life who pushes me to go above and beyond just my normal self and tells me, you know what? You can do more. You can accomplish that which you have set out to accomplish. And I'm very thankful for that because you know what? Without that in my life, I don't know where I'll be. So alone, we can do so much, but with the help of others, specifically mentors and friends that will push us beyond our limits, there is no limit to what we can do.
As we wrap up today's talks, we just want to say thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you hit the like button. And if you desire to hear more about staying motivated, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next podcast.